The courtroom was cold. Not just in temperature, but in silence, in judgment, in how every alien eye stared at the human standing in the middle. Darius Rex, once a respected soldier, now a prisoner wearing chains on his wrists. The Intergalactic Council had gathered to deliver a sentence. No one smiled. No one blinked. Darius had broken one rule, just one. But that rule had protected a 1,000-year treaty between humans and the alien race called the Travayans. He had stepped into a burning village where soldiers were ordered to leave. But he had heard crying small alien children hiding in a broken hut. Against orders, he ran in and saved them, and for that, they called him a criminal. The lead judge, a long-necked alien with silver skin, stood. Darius Rex, he said in a deep voice, you interfered in Travayan affairs. You defied command. You destroyed protocol. Darius kept his mouth shut. He had no regrets. Some demand your execution. Others demand exile. But we have chosen a different punishment. Darius looked up, for the first time curious. The judge continued, you will be married. A few chuckles echoed in the hall. Darius frowned. Married? To who? The doors behind the judge opened. Chains rattled. 2 guards dragged in a figure small, weak, dirty. She had gray skin, bruises on her arms, and a thick metal collar around her neck. Her hair was matted. Her body trembled with each step. She is a Travayan slave, the judge said. Sold for 5 credits. Stinking, rejected, untouchable. You will marry her, live with her, care for her. This is your punishment. The slave looked up. Her eyes were red, swollen from crying. But deep inside them, there was something sharp, rage, pain, fire. Darius stepped back slightly. Not in fear but in shock. You're giving me a life sentence, he said. Double quotes, no. We're giving you a chance to understand what your choices cause. She lost everything because of your actions. The crowd murmured. The slave stared at Darius like he was her enemy. The guards pushed her forward. What's your name? Darius asked softly. She didn't answer. She spat near his feet. The judge raised his hand. From this moment, she is your wife. You may leave. A collar clicked. A small shock ran through Darius's wrist cuff. His binding to her was now active. A marriage under alien law, unbreakable. Back at the base, Darius walked beside her. She didn't say a word. The scent of sweat, dirt, and rot filled the corridor. Soldiers stared. Some laughed. Some pitied. Darius opened the door to his small room. 1 bed, 1 chair. A broken mirror. Get in, he said gently. She walked inside without a word and sat on the floor. Darius removed his jacket and threw it on the chair. You can have the bed, he offered. Still nothing. He gave her water and food. She pushed it away at first, then drank when he turned around. Hours passed. He sat, pretending to read. She sat in the corner, arms around her knees, staring into the wall. The silence was thick. Finally she spoke. Her voice was hoarse, but clear. Why don't you beat me? Darius looked at her. Why would I do that? That's what others did. I was sold 6 times, each time worse, each time more pain. I'm not like them, Darius said. She laughed, dry and bitter. All humans say that. Then they lock the door. Darius didn't argue. He just stood up, took a blanket, and laid it near her. You're not a prisoner anymore. She didn't move. But her eyes followed him as he turned off the light. Late at night, Darius couldn't sleep. Suddenly, he heard her whisper, I'd rather die than be owned again. He sat up. I don't own you, he said in the dark. A pause. You think your kindness erases the chains? Darius didn't answer. She whispered again, softer this time. My name is Sira. And then silence. Asterisk. The first thing Darius noticed the next morning wasn't the cold floor, or the dim light filtering through the metal blinds. It was the smell sharper than before, sour and heavy in the air. It clung to his clothes, to the walls, to his skin. It was her. Sira hadn't moved. She was still curled up near the wall, blanket over her legs, arms around her knees. Her eyes were open, staring at nothing. Darius stood and stretched. "You didn't sleep?" "I don't sleep in new cages," she said quietly. "I told you this isn't a cage." "No," she said, "but I still wear a collar." He glanced at the thin metal ring around her neck. Fused tech. Slave tech. The kind that shocked, tracked, and silenced. He hated looking at it. He hated that it was now legally linked to him. "I'll find a way to remove it," he said. "You can't," she replied. "Only the owner can. That's you now, human." He didn't answer. Instead, he dropped a clean towel on the bed, along with a simple set of fresh clothes, one of his oversized shirts and a pair of drawstring pants. "You stink," he said plainly, but not unkindly. "Showers through that door." She didn't move. He crossed his arms. "You're not a slave here, but my room's too small for that smell. Go." She stared at him. Seconds passed. Then, without a word, she stood limping slightly. The door to the shower hissed open and closed behind her. 10 minutes. 15. 20. Darius tapped his boot on the floor. What's taking her so long? Just as he stood to check, the door opened. And time stopped. She stepped out slowly, steam curling. Behind her. Her gray skin was smooth now, almost silver in the light. Her hair, wet and brushed back, reached her shoulders. Without dirt, her alien features were striking. High cheekbones, sharp violet eyes, and soft full lips. The oversized shirt hung loosely off one shoulder. Her collar still glowed faintly, the only ugly thing left on her. She looked up and caught him staring. "What?" she asked. You look different." Her expression didn't change. "Clean?" He nodded. "Don't get ideas," she added quickly. "I bathed because I hate the smell of myself, not for you." She walked past him and sat on the bed this time, not the floor. Darius tried to focus, but something had shifted. Not just in how she looked, but how she carried herself. There was still defiance, but also something else. Control. She wasn't afraid of him anymore. Later, as he prepared a protein meal, she sat quietly watching. Then she spoke. "What was your crime?" He kept his eyes on the pot. "I saved children during a raid. My command ordered retreat. I didn't listen." She tilted her head. "Trivayan children?" "Yes," she blinked. "That's why they punished you with me." He nodded. "Poetic," she muttered. He placed a bowl in front of her. "Try not to throw this one." She didn't. She ate slowly, carefully. "You risked everything for alien children," she said, between bites. "But they gave you an alien slave to shame you." "I don't care about shame." "Liar," she said. He chuckled once. "Maybe." They sat in silence again, but it was different now, softer. That night, Darius lay on the chair, arms folded, trying to sleep. But he couldn't. Something had been bothering him since morning. Something strange. He got up quietly and opened the shower room door. The towel she used soaked. The drain clogged with filth, dark clumps, sticky strands. She had scrubbed herself raw. He found blood in the corner of the sink, and something else. A small razor, broken in half. He returned to the room. Sira was already awake, eyes glowing. Faintly in the dark. "You tried to cut the collar off," he said. She didn't speak. "You could have bled out." "I've bled worse," she said flatly. "I was trying to find the wire that links it to you. If I cut that, the bond breaks." Darius walked to the shelf and pulled out a med kit. She sighed. "Don't bother." He opened it anyway. I said, "You're not a slave anymore, remember?" he said. Sira stared at him. After a long pause, she let him sit beside her. As he gently cleaned the wound on her neck, she whispered something barely audible. "I don't want to belong to anyone again." He paused but said nothing. Sira stood alone in front of the cracked mirror. It had been days since she last saw her reflection. Real reflection. Not through dirty glass, not through fear. Her skin was pale silver now. The bruises were fading. Her collar still pulsed faintly, but her eyes, once dull, had started to glow again. She didn't recognize herself. She hated that she looked alive. Behind her, the door hissed open. Darius stepped in quietly. He paused when he saw her. The long shirt she wore brushed just above her knees. The alien curves of her body, once hidden by filth and chains, now caught his breath in his throat. She turned slowly. Their eyes locked. "Why do you keep looking at me like that?" she asked. "Like what?" "Like I'm not what I am." He crossed his arms. "And what are you?" "A slave. Bought for 5 credits. Punishment, remember?" He took a breath. "I don't care what the law says. I didn't ask for this, but you didn't refuse it either. You think I had a choice?" She stepped closer. "Everyone has a choice, even prisoners." There was fire in her voice. Controlled, but their Darius didn't step back. Neither did she. "You could have touched me," she said suddenly, her voice quieter now. "You had every right. But you didn't. Why?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Because I don't want someone who's only with me because she's forced to be." She blinked. He added, "I want someone who chooses." That word hit her harder than she expected. She took a shaky breath. Her voice wavered. "No one's ever said that to me." Later that night, a storm shook the outpost. Wind howled through the cracks in the wall. The lights flickered. Sira sat near the heater, wrapped in a blanket. Darius handed her a steaming cup. "What's this?" she asked, sniffing. "Earth cocoa. It's warm." She sipped carefully, then smiled. "Sweet," she said. He smiled too. "That's the point." The wind banged hard against the metal. She jumped slightly. "Scared?" he asked. "I hate storms," she whispered. "They remind me of the ship, the one I was sold on. The engine always made that noise before we were thrown into new cages." She was shaking now. Without thinking. Darius sat beside her. She stiffened at first, but then leaned slightly into him. "Do you still see them?" he asked. "The ones who hurt you?" "No," she replied. "I see me, how I was, small, helpless, filthy." He looked down at her. "That's not who I see." She looked up. "I see someone who's still fighting." She stared into his eyes. For once, she didn't try to act strong. "Your punishment was me," she whispered. "But I think maybe I'm the one being punished." "Why?" "Because every time you show me kindness, I forget how to hate you." Darius blinked, not expecting that. Sira stood, pulling the blanket tighter around herself. She walked slowly to the bed and sat down on the edge. Then she did something strange. She unwrapped the blanket, dropped it to the floor, and looked over her shoulder. "I know what men want," she said softly. "If you're waiting for me to ask, fine, you can have me." He stood frozen. "Sira, you've been patient, gentle, kind. Maybe you think you've earned it. So take it." She was offering her body, but not her heart. Darius stepped forward. She braced, but then he knelt, picked up the blanket, wrapped it around her again. "No," he said. She stared at him, completely stunned. "No?" she repeated. He met her eyes. "I want you to feel safe here. That means no trades, no tests, no pretending, just sleep. That's all I want from you tonight." Sira didn't know what to say. No one had ever said no to her like that. She wasn't sure if she felt insulted or protected. Maybe both. She lay down quietly, facing the wall. Her voice was almost too soft to hear. "Thank you." Sira didn't sleep that night, not because she was afraid, but because she wasn't. For the first time in years, she felt something worse than fear. Hope was dangerous. Hope made slaves believe they were free. And hope made people like her forget the truth, that kindness was just a trick before the next betrayal. But this human. He hadn't touched her, not even when she offered. He had given her back the blanket. And walked away. That didn't make sense. No one walked away. Darius made breakfast. Like it was any other morning. Eggs, protein cubes, toast. He said nothing about last night. No tension. No awkwardness. Just calm. Cyra watched him from the edge of the bed, knees pulled to her chest, the blanket still wrapped around her like armor. Finally she spoke. You didn't want me. He looked up. That's not true. Then why didn't you take me? He paused, holding the plate. Because you're not something to take. Cyra blinked. Her throat tightened. I don't understand you, she whispered. That's okay, Darius said, handing her the plate. You don't have to. The days passed quietly. Cyra stopped sleeping on the floor. She stopped flinching at sudden noises. She even started talking, asking questions, making jokes, teasing him about his cooking. Once, she laughed. It startled them both. He smiled. That's a sound I never thought I'd hear. She rolled her eyes. Don't get used to it. But her smile didn't fade. One evening, Darius worked on a broken cum device. Sparks shot out. He cursed and pulled his hand back, fingers burned. Cyra rushed over. Idiot, she muttered, pulling his hand toward her. It's fine, shut up. She opened the med kit and gently applied cooling gel. Her hands were surprisingly soft. Winced. Baby, she said, smirking. Bossy. He shot back. Their eyes locked. Her fingers were still wrapped around his. Neither moved. Then she did something unexpected. She reached up and gently touched his face. Her thumb brushed his cheekbone. Slow, careful, like he was something fragile. I've never touched someone without being told to, she said. Darius didn't move. He barely breathed. I thought I'd forgotten how to touch gently, she added. He swallowed hard. You didn't forget. She leaned in, so close he could feel her breath. But then, she stopped, inches from his lips. I'm not ready, she said, voice barely a whisper. He stepped back. Not angry, not disappointed. Just patient, I'll wait. That night, they sat together in silence, closer than ever, but not touching. Her shoulder almost touched his. Almost. It was the first time silence didn't feel empty. The next morning, the mood changed. An alert blared through the base military. Inspection team incoming. Cyra's eyes widened. She stood in panic. They can't see me here. You're legally my wife now, Darius said. You're protected. No, she said firmly. Some soldiers know me from before. If they recognize me, he understood. There was more to her story than she'd told. Go, she said. Meet them. Keep them away from the room. What? If they search, I'll hide. He nodded, but before he left, she grabbed his hand. Don't let them take me, she whispered. I won't, he promised. Darius stepped into the hallway just as the inspection team arrived, 2 armored officers and a tall alien in military robes. The tall one had glowing red eyes, and the moment he saw Darius, he smiled strangely. You are the one who married the slave? Darius nodded. Bring her out. She's resting, Darius replied calmly. She rests in prison if we confirm what I suspect. Darius tensed. And what's that? She's not just a slave, she's Cyra Zeltar, a highborn rebel. She vanished during the war. Darius kept his face steady. I don't know anything about that. She was sold cheap, damaged. The alien stepped closer, nose to nose with Darius. Even damaged things have value if they belong to royalty. Cyra had spent years hiding. She hid behind filth, behind silence, behind the collar. But no disguise could hide royal blood forever. She crouched inside the storage compartment behind the wall, panel barely breathing, from inside the tiny dark space. She heard the voices, men's voices. Cold, sharp, military. They were asking about her. She knew one of them. Commander Thalev. He used to stand beside her father's throne. He was the one who bowed before her as Princess Sira of the Fifth Line. He was also the one who sold her name for credits the night her family was slaughtered. Her fingers curled into fists. If he sees me. It's over. Outside, Darius stood his ground. I don't know who she is, he lied. Commander Thalav narrowed his eyes. Don't be a fool, human. She's not some common slave. That girl once held command over a Trivaean fleet. Darius didn't flinch. You think someone like that would be sold for 5 credits? Naked, beaten, barely alive? Thalav leaned closer. Desperate people do desperate things to disappear. But blood doesn't lie. He pulled out a small scanner. Darius's heart skipped. Let us scan her collar. If it's really government locked, it will show her registry. Darius stayed calm, but his fists clenched behind his back. She's resting. Then wake her, Thalav said coldly. Suddenly the lights flickered. Sparks burst from the hallway panels. A small explosion knocked out the door controls. Alarms blared. Power fluctuation. One officer shouted. Get back to the ship, Thalav barked. Something's wrong. Within seconds, they turned and marched off, shouting into their comms as they vanished. Darius exhaled slowly, then turned and ran to the hidden panel. He opened it, and Sira fell into his arms, shaking. You did that? He asked. She nodded. A failsafe. I rigged the panel yesterday, in case they came. You jammed the power systems? I used to command warships, Darius. You think I don't know how to trip a circuit? He stared at her. You're really a princess? She looked away. I was. Why didn't you tell me? Because the moment someone sees royalty, they stop seeing me. He reached out and gently touched her cheek. I still see you. Her breath caught. Later that night, she sat on the floor, her legs crossed, arms loose, hair down. No blanket. No shield. She was done hiding. I was 14 when the coup happened. She said softly. My father was poisoned. My mother vanished. I was thrown into a cell, and then into a cage, and then into auction after auction. Darius listened in silence. They used to call me Star Blood. Now they call me 5-credit trash. No, Darius said. They're blind. She gave a sad smile. You see too much. That's dangerous. Then let me be dangerous. She looked up. I can't be who I was anymore, she whispered. That version of me died years ago. He knelt in front of her. Then be whoever you want to be, with me. Her eyes filled. But not with tears of fear or pain, with something else. That belief. Later, as she lay beside him, not touching, just close enough to feel his warmth, she whispered. You know, when they punished you with me, they thought you'd break. He smiled in the dark. They were wrong. She turned her face toward him. So were you, she said. About what? You said I was broken. I'm not. I never said that. She smiled. You thought it. Pause. Maybe I did, he admitted. But now I see something else. What? Strength. Fire. A queen still standing in the ashes. Her heart thudded in her chest. She didn't answer, but her fingers slid gently into his dot and stayed there. Asterisk. The bounty was posted at midnight. It spread like wildfire across the black market networks. Alive, 100,000 credits. Dead, 20,000. Target, Sira Zeltar, last living heir of the Trivaean royal bloodline. Location, human outpost Sigma 9. The message came with a grainy image of her face, clean now. Beautiful. Unmistakable. Darius saw it on a smuggler's tablet while repairing the base antenna. His hands froze. He knew that photo. He had taken it himself. Someone had sold them out. Inside the base. Sira noticed it too. Soldiers were whispering when she passed. Eyes that once ignored her now watched closely. Doors that used to stay open now shut quietly behind her. She felt it in her gut. Something was coming. That night, Darius locked the room for the first time. He loaded his weapon and slid it Under his bed. Sira didn't ask why. She already knew. Whoever posted that bounty, she said softly, has deep pockets. He nodded, and long reach. She sat beside him, not touching, but close enough to feel the heat of his skin. I don't want to run again, she said. You won't, he promised. But if I stay, you'll die with me. He turned to her, calm and certain. Then I'll die standing beside someone who was worth it. Her eyes burned, but she didn't cry. Foolish human, she whispered. Brave alien, he replied. Just before dawn, the betrayal came. A soft knock. A familiar voice. It was Private Larn, Darius's old squadmate. It's me, Larn said. Open up, quick. Darius stepped toward the door, then stopped. His instincts screamed. Why are you whispering? Security breach, Larn said. We have to move her. There's a ship waiting. What ship? Darius asked. Sira was already backing away. No. Answer. Darius stepped closer to the door but didn't open it. You sold us, didn't you? Silence. Then. 100,000 credits, Darius. That's a life-changing number. Darius growled. Then change your life. Not hers. Too late, Larn said. You have 1 minute before they breach. Darius turned to Sira. Go through the vent tunnel. Head for Dock Bay 4. I'll stall them. No, she snapped. I'm not leaving you. You have. Tio, she shook her head. They'll kill you. Then let them try. He pulled her close fast. Hard and kissed her. It was the first time. Not careful. Not gentle. Real. Full of everything they hadn't said when he pulled back. His voice was low. Run, Sira. Be the queen they're afraid of. She disappeared into the vents just as the door exploded. Smoke. Screams. Gunfire. Darius charged straight into the fire. 3 bounty hunters. He dropped one with a shoulder tackle and used the second's own weapon to stun him, but the third shot him in the leg. He collapsed behind the desk, bleeding but still fighting. Meanwhile, Sira crawled through the tight vents. Her arms were scratched. Her body was shaking, but her mind was clear. She reached Dock Bay 4 and stopped. 2 guards. Armed. Scanning the area. She had no weapon. No backup. No time. She closed her eyes. 12 years ago, I commanded a warship. Now I crawl like a rat. Enough. She stood tall, stepped out of the shadows, and walked toward the guards. Don't move. One barked, but she didn't stop. They aimed their weapons. Hands up. She smiled. Too late. She grabbed the edge of a cargo loader and slammed it into their knees. One screamed. The other fired missed. She spun, took his weapon, and knocked him out cold. Still got it, she thought. Back in the room, Darius was barely conscious. The third bounty hunter raised his gun to finish the job and dropped suddenly. Unconscious, behind him stood Sira, covered in bruises. Breathing hard. Holding a plasma rifle. You took too long, she muttered. Darius grinned, bloody. You came back. I told you, she said. I'm not running anymore. They didn't stop running, not because they were afraid, but because they finally had somewhere to go. The stolen ship hummed beneath them, cutting through deep space as stars streaked across the black window. Darius lay on the medbed, his leg patched but still raw. Sira sat beside him, holding his hand, not like a frightened girl hiding behind a man, but like a warrior guarding her only reason to survive. You're going to be okay, she whispered. I know, Darius said, his voice hoarse. Because you're here. She smiled, but only for a moment. Then she stood. And changed everything. She stepped into the ship's bridge and activated a secure channel, an old frequency known only to a few. A voice answered. Who dares? This is Sira Zeltar. She interrupted. Daughter of House Zeltar. Last blood of the 5th line. I'm alive, and I'm taking back what's mine. Silence. Then a breathless reply. Your Highness. We thought you were dead. I was, she said coldly. Now, I'm reborn. By the time Darius could stand again, they had reached the hidden moon of Trellanaxa, place where the last of Syrah's loyalists had gone underground years ago. A dozen ships welcomed her return. 100 Trevayan soldiers dropped to one knee as she stepped onto the landing platform. But Syrah didn't raise her chin like a proud queen. She looked back at Darius and waited for him. He walked slowly, limping to her side. And she took his hand before addressing the crowd. I was sold, she said to her people. Whipped, branded, tossed away for less than the price of a meal, and I would have stayed forgotten. Her voice trembled. If one human hadn't seen something in me that I no longer saw in myself. She turned to Darius, voice steady. I wasn't saved by a soldier. I was saved by a man who refused to treat me like I was broken. She looked at the crowd again. I am not a slave. I am not a shame. I am the heir. And this, she held up her hand, still joined with his, is the man I chose. No one spoke. Then the kneeling soldiers stood and saluted. Later that night, in a quiet chamber lined with ancient banners, Darius leaned against the wall, still trying to process it all. Tell me this isn't a dream, he said. Ari stepped close. If it is, we're dreaming together. He smiled. Do queens always marry the first guy who doesn't hit them? She laughed. Only the ones who fix power cables, take punches for them, and kiss like they mean it. He pulled her close. You were my punishment, he said softly. But you became everything. She leaned in and kissed him soft this time. No fear. No shame. Just choice. Months passed. Their story spread. The slave who rose again. The human who stood beside her. Enemies came for them. Old warlords, bounty hunters, politicians. They faced them all. Together. Not as master and servant. Not even as soldier and queen. But as equals. End from slave to queen. Final line. They punished him with a slave, but he loved her like a queen. And in the end, she became one, not because of blood, but because of the man who stood beside her when she was worth nothing.